Hello everyone and welcome back to Blaster Master 03. We got through one of the worst rooms in the game, thankfully, but it does give a pretty damn good ability, so it is worth it, unfortunately.
Unfortunately?
You dropped the... Oh, and does that,
No, that we got that earlier. What you get is a deflector shield for your dash.
Oh.
So basically, you can deflect bullets while you're dashing.
That's nice.
Yeah, on the top-down screens, it's super helpful.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they knew what they were doing. They put it in one of the worst rooms in the game, so...
One of the bullet hell rooms, where...
Yeah, so you can't just... Unfortunately, you can't really just ignore it, because you want that power
So
up.
it's like, you get the deflector for your dash, and it's like, oh, that would have been really useful 10 seconds ago. Like...
I mean, that's a typical Metroidvania trick, to, like... get the item right after you're suddenly
put you in a situation where you really could have used that power up and then give you the power up so that I get it.
When you're walking back, you feel really powerful and whatnot. I do like I always do have liked in these kinds of games the like drop an item and it does area of effect damage while it's in that spot. Like, I've always been a big fan of those kinds of things in all of these.
Like the spark is great here because that's also a shield. It's both.
Yeah, if you stand in the spot you drop it as a shield.
Oh, that's also really cool.
And I don't know if you noticed just then, but if the sparks come back and hit the shield, it makes a giant, even bigger AoE explosion.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like,
yeah, I always loved how creative the different weapons in these games.
Wait, I thought that thing was instant kill.
It is, but if you have any of the shield barriers on, it takes all of those instead. If he touches it again, he is dead.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you have some recourse against it, but not much.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, there wasn't anything like that in 2, right?
No.
You just touched
No.
it.
But the thing is, those came in so late in the game, you didn't have to deal with them much.
Yeah, they were only ever.
They were only in one planet for the most part.
Well, introducing something like game that is unquestionably instant death if you ever touch it, and then introducing it earlier in the next game but giving you a counter to it, that's a fairly clever way to get that escalation going.
Yeah, it makes the third game feel more epic or whatever.
Now, if only
And that
our good pal Mega Man would gain a counter to spiky walls.
I mean, technically, there's the spike barrier, which they introduced in like 7 onwards.
Ah.
Yeah, in the shop. It was a thing you could buy in the shop.
Yeah, it basically, if you used it, I think it took your health down to 1 hit point, but you did not die.
It depends on the game. Some just protect you for 1 hit. Some do a lot of damage. Some will take you down to 1. They don't make it very consistent.
I didn't realize the homing was that good on this boss fight, man.
No, the homing is like one of the best weapons in the game.
Dude, I didn't use it enough in my playthrough, apparently, because I was actually using the Spark Shield, and the Spark Shield does great damage if you can hit with it, but I'm actually surprised at how well the...
the Spark, as long as you're on the bottom, I assume that the Spark is kind of the same way, where you just shoot it, and then you can focus on, like, dodging,
Yeah.
But
the Spark Shield actually deflects all those bullets. You don't get hurt if you're with the shield up.
The problem is you kind of want to hit both of them, and the homing laser, if you hold it, it locks onto multiple targets. It'll hit both of them, so you're effectively doing double damage. Because they each have their own health bar, but...
Yeah.
So it's one of those, I'm not super good at this game, but the homing laser, if you can do it right, is still super useful. Pretty much till the end of the game.
Alright.
Anti-ESF ammo, yay.
Oh, so there's ammo that's good against the robots, and then ammo that's good against the
mutants.
Okay. I did also notice that there's a difference.
Yeah, this is the robot ammo.
I mostly stick to the robot ammo because we encounter them a lot more in the tank than we do with Jason.
Yeah, and it's a faster shot, too. It travels way faster.
Yeah, so...
Does it, like, do actively less than against the,
mutants? A little bit, yeah.
Yes. It's the equivalent of your normal shot, I believe.
Yeah,
oh,
so
okay, well, that's not even that bad. I was like...
Yeah, so...
Oh, man, that's cool. Like...
Yeah, no, it's a neat shot.
Yeah, but now you'll notice I'll start using the orange SP on the bar on the upper left there.
Okay, hold on. Well, I mean, if you stop looking at the map, gosh, Ryan, jeez.
See, now that took like 4 shots with a normal one, and now that took 2.
Well, that was a mutant.
Oh, that was a mutant? I thought that was
a mutant,
No, I thought it was a robot because it counted as the stun animation.
No, that stun animation happens no matter what shot you use on it, I'm pretty sure.
Fair.
Same with the turrets that shoot thing. That was one thing I was a little confused about, because it definitely says it's the Sophia Force. It's anti-Sophia Force ammo.
Yeah.
Why does the Sophia Force have a gun that's good against their own guys?
Well, the mutants were hanging. Oh no, it was actually Sophia Force's.
This is their storehouse, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to say
that's a good point, actually.
I want to say they probably had a failsafe for their own metal attackers.
That's probably
because they basically just launched them out into space to other planets. You had to, I guess, consider the possibility that one would fall into wrong hands or something.
Yeah, it seems like the throwing tanks at random people and hoping it works out plan wasn't the smartest thing that they've ever come up with.
Accomplished.
But it never really backfires in the series, though. This is the closest that it backfires is dealing with Jason.
It's just like, oh, this dumb college kid found a tank and fell in love with the robot inside. Okay. Like, if that's the worst that happens because of it, I guess it's not that bad,
So, wait, what just happened? You destroyed the robot, there was an item there, you went to jump up and get the item, and the robot was back?
It was a weird respawn.
Sometimes they respawn it. Some enemies respawn instantaneously.
It's so weird.
Yeah. It's a bit, it's not very consistent is more the problem.
Oh.
Sometimes leaving the item there doesn't make them respawn.
I thought it was like a mimic or something.
No.
No, there's an enemy that absorbs all your Gaia force. So like how when you slam it on the ground you regain your SP.
It steals that.
The machine absorbs it instead. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a cool enemy concept. Something that messes with your understanding of the game mechanics and forces you to play a little differently.
Screw you, level design. I'm going up top. Super Mario level 2, bitch. Get my health back.
So you said that you can see to some extent.
You can see the general level layout, yeah.
Okay, maybe it's just the brightness I have on my...
It's probably just the video, yeah.
Yeah, but I can't see it.
I can see it in the video, but it should be very faint.
Yeah, so...
I remember I had... Oh god, what game was it? I think it was Metroid Other M, actually. The very end of that game where you're in like the big room and you have to look through one of the doors to find the girl that's hidden in there. I didn't notice that like there were even doors on the walls because of how the brightness was on my TV, and I had to like turn it up to max in order to see what people were talking about when I looked at guides and things like that.
I didn't notice this before, but do you have like 2 overlaid meters on both colors?
Yeah,
because we're getting
Oh
more.
Yeah, like when it goes to white, that means you have like a second
SP.
bar.
So you have the base bars at the start of the game. And then power-ups you find throughout the game are like 10% more sub-SP, 10% more main SP.
Oh, yeah, so it's basic. So like how his health bar right now has like the more whitish green on the very first one.
So I have 1 extra hit point because that was extra permanent health I got.
Okay.
It's just saving UI space, really.
Yeah.
Although getting your health bar to ridiculously long levels is like a cool video game thing, but it does like take up most of the screen.
This game's kind of basic in that you get more or less all the sub-weapons and stuff as long as you're explored. Pretty much all the upgrades are just health and SP upgrades. It's kind of weird.
Not much in the way of
new
They're all quality of life, basically.
Not much in the way of horizontal progression, just numbers going up.
More or less.
Can be a bit...
well, you still can go out of your way to get certain abilities. Like, he could have completely skipped that dash counter.
Yeah. And that's something,
but there's not many, but there are a few, so... Basically, there's 10 there's 10 health upgrades, 10 sub-SP upgrades, and 10 main SP upgrades.
Basically, if you've been playing through the series at this point, you already should be used to going and finding everything. Since the first game, you don't get the true ending unless you find every item. The other 2 games don't care, but the first one should have instilled that in you if you're playing through the series.
That seems a bit... What's the connection?
It never really made sense. Like, there never really was a connection. It's just something you kind of had to do. Like, I don't remember what the thing was.
The plot element is that, like, we didn't have enough data. If we had gotten more data, we could have figured out how to deal with the mutant core.
Yeah, I thought that in, like, the first one, it's like, oh, I couldn't save Eve because I wasn't strong enough or something.
No, Jason thinks everything's fine. Only Eve is the one that's like, we fucked up, yeah. Jason and Fred live their lives on Earth perfectly fine. We're like, oh, I hope Eve's okay.
Oh, okay.
And Eve's like, I'm dying!
Oh, it was in the second game where Eve was like, "Oh, if I was stronger, I could do something about this."
Sort of. No, it was more.
Well,
she was reminiscing about the friends she met. It's like, oh, if we had, spent
if we
more
had
time
helped
with
our
them,
friends.
strengthen our bond and stuff. It's like, because the stipulation for getting the best ending in 2 was doing all side quests, more or less.
Which makes a bit more sense in terms of causality.
Yeah, and then in this game, won't spoil what happens, but the trigger for the best ending is just pressing the certain buttons on the right point in the cutscene.
Well,
yeah, I don't think there's any actual missable restriction.
What?
Otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, during the...
It'll make sense when we get there, and it won't at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I only figured it out on my own specifically because I'd been trained to look at the bad ending, and there's usually some kind of clue in there.
Oh.
You see, I never got the bad ending in 1 because I just am.
You get everything anyway.
Yeah, I'm that kind of person. And I didn't finish
same
2.
here.
I really should, because it generally was a better game than 1. Like, it genuinely was. I just got distracted. I've had a couple of games like that where Tales of Symphonia was another example where I was genuinely enjoying my time, and then I just stopped and never finished it. Although for some reason I finished Tales of the Abyss, which is much, much worse. So I don't know what's up with me sometimes.
I like the idea of using these electric things to light up the area now. Seems a bit less fiddly than the power the generators by electrifying the water they're sitting in idea.
Oh, the face guy.
makes sense,
That was
though.
the face guy was a boss, right?
Not a boss. He was. Well, you fought groups of them in the first game.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first game, they have their bosses be a lot of here's just a
Mook
group of
rushes.
enemies.
Yeah.
Mook rushes.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Can't
Not
quite
enough
reach
range.
it, huh? You need more
Well, no,
gun level.
Nope. There's gun right here. Yay,
Well, it's always
gun.
nice when you get more gun right when you need it.
Yep.
Oh, you're gonna stick through it? All right.
I pretty much stick almost entirely through to the alternate dimension areas, if only because I just find them easier.
Yeah, because a lot of them are optional.
I almost
you said,
exclusively
right?
ran through the So they're supposed to be the easier but longer ways, like Ryan said earlier.
Yeah.
But I generally was like, I want to go through and not use the system as much as possible. I try to use it as little as possible.
Oh, that's
Well,
that's an
'cause they-
interesting way to look at it.
But
Because I think
Sorry, but as we mentioned, the thing is just takes so long to drain. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you talk to Kane on the computer before you get to this factory, he specifically says something like, "Yo, don't use that VRV system too much. It's very experimental and untested. We don't know if something will happen."
Is it like
Yeah, and it's
one of
totally
those
fine,
things that
so.
sort of tricks you into thinking it might be a bad ending path?
Oh, there
I don't
was
know about
another game that
Sword.
did that, and I can't remember which one. It's just like, if you use it too much, you'll become a
Heavy
demon.
Rain.
Yeah.
Heavy Rain did that.
Oh, right, with the juice
with
that
the
he has to-
glasses.
Oh, well, yeah. I think that actually did lead to a bad end for that character, though.
Yeah, if you took the
yeah.
drugs, you got a worse ending, and the ending got worse the more drugs you did.
Yeah, I think I watched one of those endings on YouTube where he's just tripping out in the goddamn bathroom, seeing hallucinations. But
There
like,
was Heavy Rain is not a good story.
not much of
at
what
all.
It's not.
much
It's
of,
not.
much of what David Cage writes is a good story.
But the one thing that I think he did really well, there's probably more than one thing, but one thing that I think he did well in Heavy Rain is that in that game, you are, he's effectively a drug addict, so, if you don't do the thing in time, you lose control of the character, and he just does it anyway, which I think is a good way to show, he doesn't have control over, being able to do that, because that's, an actual thing with addiction, is just, people do not are not able to control whether or not
Yeah.
they do it or not a lot of the time.
So now I'm just imagining him at 4 a.m. making chocolate things like I've lost control of my life.
And I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to shit talk Heavy Rain and the other David Cage games too much because I know a lot of people.
I'm
like
perfectly
them.
happy to.
Well, on what level I am, I'm perfectly happy to talk about how much I don't like his particular storytelling style, but like I understand why people like them, and like when you take most of the moments in those games individually, and most of the concepts in those games individually, they are very engaging. It's just that a lot of the time it falls apart as a cohesive whole.
Yeah, once you start trying to actually think about what they've written, it falls apart. It's one of those games where it's just like the more you reflect on it, the weaker it
one
gets.
One of the most classic examples is that is Beyond. No, it wasn't not Beyond. That's different. Detroit.
Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls is a different
Detroit.
one. I'm talking about Detroit Become Human. That spun off from this tech demo that they did for PS3, I think, which was just a short little one-off story about this robot girl who was on an assembly line and started to develop like a personality, and she was about to be basically trashed, but then she got afraid, and the guy who was working the assembly line basically just told her, stay quiet, go along with it, and I won't say anything. And sends her along the line, and it fades to black with him going like, Jesus Christ. And I remember being like I really liked that tech demo, and I was like, why don't they make a game about this? And then they did.
Oops.
Yeah, that's basically, Lewis, what you just described is why some short stories should stay short story.
Yeah.
Most of my favorite science fiction actually is short stories
like,
as opposed to full-on novels.
like one of the characters.
Have I ever told you, Ted, about Thundering Worlds?
One of the characters
No.
one of the characters that you play as in Detroit is the girl robot from that short. But like it was more effective as a one-off. I'm just gonna say that right there.
What happens in
Alright.
Thundering Worlds?
Okay, so
Ryan?
it's a pulp story from like the 30s or 40s. I can't remember exactly what, but it's super old, trashy. You're meant to read it in the magazine and throw it away stories.
Yeah.
So basically, far, far off into the future, the sun's doing its whole it's aged in its lifespan, so it's going to become a super giant, what have you. So obviously that's going to absorb a lot of planets and doom the Earth and a bunch of other things. So humanity at that point has colonized all the planets, as they do in the future. So basically their idea is to solve their sun problem is to make giant rocket jets, attach them to the planets, and drive them somewhere else.
What?
Yes.
Oh, yo, there was a cartoon about that I used to watch growing up. What the hell was that called?
So, because the sun's going to be expanding, we're going to take Earth and push its orbit far enough away so it doesn't get eaten by the sun.
not far enough away. We're literally driving it to a different star.
Shadow Raiders. Oh man.
That's
What the hell did you just...
I'd say that was a dumb move, but then Starkiller Base exists, so
That sounds so stupid. It will get us all killed.
I can do you one better. I want to tell you about Shadow Raiders. So Shadow Raiders was a CG cartoon, I think done by the Reboot Studio.
Oh boy.
And it was about
Oh, no.
this planet that went around eating other planets.
wasn't that
So Galactus.
basically Unicron?
It was basically Unicron in a way. So these 4 planets left in this galaxy are trying to figure out how to escape, and they find out that all of their planets have engines and rocket engines inside of them. So the series starts about them like getting to these other planets, turning them into rockets, and then flying them away from the planet eater that is chasing them throughout the universe. So they keep trying to save other planets, and I think it eventually ends with them trying to kill the planet eater by literally crashing their planets into it. It's
Okay,
like
that's straight up an adaptation of Thundering Worlds, because the end of the Thundering Worlds is they go to a different star but find that aliens already have like inhabited planets around it, so they get into this war. They defeat the alien planets by basically hurling mercury at it.
hell yeah, it's badass. I love that.
Sci-fi's so stupid.
Yes.
Sci-fi rules because it's so stupid.
It depends on what sci-fi you're talking about, really, because there's some sci-fi that takes itself very seriously, conceptually and mechanically, and then there's sci-fi that's just off the rails and doesn't really lean into the science.
That's usually what I differentiate by sci-fi and like space opera. I know that that's not like how most people would generally divide the two, but like...
Well, technically, what generally, when you're talking in a literary sense between them, is the hard sci-fi that's very analytical and kind of dry, that you just basically call science fiction. The more pulpy kind of pew-pew laser blast things they call sci-fi.
Yeah.
Basically as a way to kind of differentiate the two.
Yeah, one has
It's not sci-fi, it's science fiction.
It's just a way to say, it's just a shorthand
They're
way to differentiate
action
between
figures, Mom, not dolls.